handle that, so we need to make a motion. Hospital reports. Report from that, but so far we're doing well. I do have a couple other things that you like to report on. Right.
Additional info is, we were on scene at Smith Elementary School over the weekend. IDM about, an issue there with some odors, so it technically was not an emergency, but since, our office was involved in IDM, we went ahead and treated that way. And it is a sensitive, building because of the occupants in there, the children, so, that is still unfolding. They have contractors on site. Continue to monitor. At this point, all the air samples have been returned well. We're waiting on water samples. It should be in today, so. But at this point, we don't expect, to have problems there. Just as a precaution, we went and had everything tested. The health department was on site with us as well. Pyramid projects, I did go run through the punch list today. I know there were some emails floating around, and they may have requests today. I'm not sure if they'll be here or online, but, we do have 3 remaining items on the punch list for the tower sites. They're minor at this point. A couple of them are lights that may not have been fixed. I need to get back out to the sites and check that. But one we do know is outstanding is the screens for the AC units on all 3 sites. So that is still outstanding.
We had a request
for payment on the fencing because there was a subcontractor involved. Are we pleased with that? I know at one point, Mr. McWhorter last year was saying, hold off on that until we get everything done. And probably my first thought is, our contractor who is, or our engineer who is coordinating all that, we're not hurting him as much as we are the subcontractor by not paying that bill. And, he understands what we're after right now. So are you still of that mind frame to continue to hold out on that payment for the fencing or?
Well, I share your concern for the fencing contract, because his work is done and it was approved and as well, so, and I know we had some conversation about that. And really because of the other issues being relatively minor, I'm okay with paying at this point.
So does the payment go to Pyramid or does the payment go to the fencing company?
I think it goes through them.
It was my understanding, everything.
They're the gateway.
We would have to pay Pyramid to pay the contractor. Now, that, I know Jim had some concerns about documentation, and I don't know that that was ever resolved. I think that was more of an issue than.
Okay. It was not.
Yeah.
So documentation, the proper invoices, we're still waiting on that. We need to convey that to them. Okay.
Yeah, lastly on that, we are working currently with J&K Communications. We have a large punch list for them, but that project is unfolding, so they're continuing to work through those issues. And that will be, that'll take some time yet to get that finished. Won't be here today with Captain Bailey, so that was on the agenda. Questions?
Those dangling cables that I saw
Yes.
Friday, we're up and running now and.
Yes, those were actually ropes they were climbing the tower
Okay.
Friday, so, yeah.
I drove by one of our public safety towers and I saw what I thought were cables and I'm going, that is not supposed to look like that. So,
I saw them up there. They were actually on the tower.
okay. Any other questions for EMA?
I'm assuming Oak Hills, for the Sweetser Elementary, Oak Hills Insurance Company's picking up the tab on all that.
Yes, they have, and their actually the insurance adjuster was on site. So yes, they're working through that.
The county's not out.
Correct. We had nothing in that. I think there'll be some long-term mitigation and looking at really all their facilities. It was an unfortunate circumstance that happened. And still trying to put all the pieces of that puzzle together.
Thank you. Are you rescheduling the recognition of service then, or just?
Yes, I'll get with you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right, we will, any other elected officials, department heads, special committees? On to IT, Marcus.
No, nothing for today.
It is a red letter day.
Yep, I'm in the director's chair right now.
All right, thank you, sir. Highway Department, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
First thing I was gonna bring up is I did get my ERC recertification all completed. So I'm all caught up with the state on that, so we can apply for federal aid money and all that good stuff, so. Next thing I have for you is written report for the recycle center. Basically, this is just all the items that we took in last year. Customers, there was over 16,670. I think that was up from last year. We had right around 12,000, so we had about 4,000 more new customers. And then you can just see all the combined plastic. We had almost 30 ton of that. Cardboard, we had almost 78 ton, different things like that. So just a breakdown of everything that's brought in and then also sent to the proper location to be reused or however they do with stuff, so. Yeah, any questions on that, I can hopefully answer them for you.
In the East Central Indiana Solid Waste District meetings, we've understood that to get rid of a lot of our waste, prices are skyrocketing. Do you have a percentage of what we're paying now compared to what we did? And I know that's a tough figure to throw.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe most of the time solid waste always picks that bill up on the stuff we have to get rid of, like
Okay.
chemicals, hazard materials, stuff like that. We try not to, if it's something that we can use somewhere else, we'll use it, but most of the time, electronics is probably the biggest thing.
I want to say that from a third to a half as much as what it cost us before.
Yeah,
And so, we want to make sure that we are taking that recyclable waste and getting rid of it instead of folks throwing it out back or piling it somewhere where it could be created a hazard. So we want to continue to encourage that, just realizing that it's costing us more.
Just a quick question. When it comes to metal and aluminum, see where Newland Metals, that's where we take our recyclables to.
Yeah.
Do we receive any funds?
yeah, we get paid for that. Some things we get paid for, the cardboard, paper, et cetera, the new metals we get paid for. Usually it's just by the month or depends on when we have our container empty.
Okay.
So,
Tires and electronics, no.
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 Tires, electronics, no. We used to get paid for glass. Now they just basically pick it up for free, so it don't go to the landfill, but been out of there, so.
Other questions for highway? Have we done any more on the property there off of Garthway?
No,
Okay.
no. Should be able to make the offer this week.
Okay.
I did get it assessed.
We get that cleaned up, and we do have a farm lease bidding process that will be happening on that property, some of that property out there as well.
Yes, it's already been advertised.
Next thing I have to bring up is Bridge 789, is the one here on 10th Street in Marion. We're going to start that project January 30th. One thing I did not get completed was I did not get the contract signed between the county and the contractor. We did all the other forms, but I forgot to do that. So, I guess it's all right since done back in August, we put today's date. So, the amount for the project was $677,956.28. You'd like to sign the agreement so I can get this submitted back to them.
We technically have already approved this
Right.
project, we just did not sign the paperwork. Right. Is that everybody or just?
Yeah. And the company was Milestone Contractors, if you'd like to know about that.
Tested to, to run if we need to submit to the auditor.
We do.
Something left.
I got two proposals for putting guttering on our new building that we're building out there. One is from Clevenger Family Enterprises for $2,291. And the other one is from Kingdom Roofing Systems for $3,131. Like to use Clevenger's if that's all right to get that installed.
Highway directors recommending Clevenger's at $2,291.
Was this in the original bid?
No, we're just kind of doing it as we go.
Okay, right. Do you need a motion for that?
We would.
I would make a motion that we approve Clevengers for the $2,291 cost. Being the lowest bidder.
I second that.
Motion, Mr. Wright, second. Mr. Stewart, any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is carried.
We do have our fuel and stone bid scheduled for February 6th meeting to open those bids. That's all right. I went last Wednesday and looked at a used dump truck like I've done in the past. Kind of took pictures and I kind of put a price. I would like to not say the price out loud because the bid stops at 11 a.m. this morning, so I gotta get back. If you allow me to bid what as I put on here. I went and priced a couple new ones and I also put what the new ones would cost. So if you gentlemen would like to look at, this truck here is a little bit older. It's 21 years old, but it's only got 52,000 miles on it. And it was at a county airport up in Wisconsin, so that's kind of its history on it. Right now with trying to get chassis and everything else, I can't hardly get anything that can be built on in a timely manner. A lot of people tell me at least a year or more just to get a chassis, so, especially on my big truck. So I'm trying to go different routes and we've never had a smaller truck like this. I'd like to use this in additions and stuff. And here in the parking lot to help fence out when we put material down. Because what I'd like to do is just run straight salt so we don't get sand all over the parking lot. So that's what I'd like to try to do with this. I really don't want to spend $100,000 on a truck that I don't know if it's going to work for us, kind of thing. So that's why I put what I'd like to bid up to if it'll work out. So,
And you have finance
yeah,
to accompany whatever bid you're doing it, so it's in your budget.
yeah.
So he's just asking for our permission to make that bid. He has the finance to back that up, so it's not like, it's not his budget. We don't have to appropriate, we're okay with that. Thing would be, we just need to consent to him placing a bid for that particular truck.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Mr. Stewart makes that motion. Mr. Wright seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. It's carried.
Next thing is we'd like to apply for a community crossing grant, ends January 27th. And what we need is basically a financial letter saying that we will, meet our 50% match if we do get the grant. And what we put down here is would like to try for a bridge project, which, and a paving road project, so. And I'm gonna have to go to the council and get it assigned to, but we'll just use our funding for the match is all. I just gotta say that we'll have the money for, if we do get selected for the projects.
Is this a 2027 or is this
This will be 2023.
2023?
Community crossing grants are done twice a year, up to $1 million. So we'll have to come up with 50% of, if we did get all the million, so.
Okay. This has nothing to do with Branson Street Bridge project. That'd be a different one.
This is a community crossing grant, which is state funded only.
Okay. So he's looking for commissioner approval as well as tomorrow night's council approval. President Middlesworth and myself would be the ones to sign this document if we're agreeing to that. Crossroads grants have been very advantageous for us here in the past, and so I'm inclined to say, yes, let's keep going.
We got them ever since 2016, I think. Sometimes we got two a year or more, so. And they're beneficial to us.
You gentlemen like to do that with consent, or you want to make that a motion that we send a letter stating our financial commitment to a 50% match?
I think sure we get it in. Let's go ahead and do a motion on it. I'll make a motion that we Mr. White to go ahead and seek the grant and utilizing the monies that he's already got appropriated for his budget.
I'll second that motion.
Motion, Mr. Wright, second, Mr. Stewart. Any further discussion or questions for Mr. Wright? Excuse me, Mr. White. Excuse me. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is carried.
What Mark was talking a minute ago about 2028. This is what I'm going to apply for Thursday with the state. This is a federal grant here. And this is basically my slideshow that I printed off that I will present to the 7-person board up there to try to win their pick on the Grant County for Branson Street Bridge. So the only thing I would say on that, like towards the back, it kind of has how much everything costs, what they're projected. Don't let that get out because the contractor can't really see that part of it. But the rest is just information about how old the bridge is and some of the criteria, the efficiency ratings and utilities and everything else that we would like to try to replace and repair on it. So it'll be a good, long-lasting bridge for years to come, so. And I've already talked to the city of Marion about a couple of things about closing that roadway off and different things like that. And they said they'd be glad to help do anything, so. I will present that all Thursday at 11:30 at Fort Wayne District. And
Will the, bridge guy, will the walls that's underneath the bridge that's gathering all the logs and things like that coming down the center wall, is that gonna be one continuous span, or are we still gonna have to add some things there?
well, actually, it'll be just 3. Right now, there's 6. So it'll go down to 3. So hopefully all the logs will
Hopefully that'll
get
help.
through. So hopefully that'll kind of, because basically what I'm going to explain to them is that's probably a $15,000 to $20,000 expense every year for us to keep those cleaned out. So hopefully that'll kind of, that was just the way that bridge was designed back in 1910. So, they didn't, I guess, think that all those logs were going to get caught on it every year. So basically that'll take that whole complete bridge out and put a whole new bridge out.
How long will that project take?
They should be able to do it in a year. I mean, if they get started like in the spring of the year, but that's the one that's not technically set till 2028 for construction, so. That's what I talked to the county council about, is trying to save so much money back, because we have to have 20% of the match, and we don't have to come up with it all at once. So,
Now, remind me, are you just sharing with us what your PowerPoint's going to be? We've already given you initial approval to seek this particular grant, so you're just giving us information at this point.
And BF&S, the engineering firm, is the one that helped me get a lot of that information together, so. I think the only thing else I had to bring up is, I'd like to try to think of a way, with CDL drivers, I'm having a hard time on, I've been, in the past, we've always made the driver pay for his testing. And we do the physical, if it's every other year, we pay for that. But the CDL testing, I just took a gentleman like 2 weeks ago, it's like $200. And, if you don't pass, then he has to spend another $200. If you don't pass, another, what I'd like to do is either somehow have them come with an agreement that maybe we pay for the first time, and then they have to go again, they pay for the second time. But I'd also like to try and do is if I don't want to pay for it, and then 6 months later they go to leave, So I don't know how I can do something You know, if they did leave, it didn't say within a year or something, that I don't know if you could take that out of their check, or I don't know how you could do all that. I don't know if the sheriff's department does something like that with the academy, or,
I think the city of Marion and the sheriff's department have some type of waiver built in that if you leave within 5 years, pay for the academy or something to that effect, but it's quite expensive.
yeah, I would say.
I would say we'd have to go through HR as well as our attorney to make sure we could do such a thing.
Well, like I said, right now, we just make them pay it, but this last gentleman, I went ahead and paid it because we have to do something different where we have to log in. So I went ahead and paid for it through the county's credit card and stuff. I told him till I get something figured out. I just kind of want to hold off and see what we can do, because they did raise the prices. They used to be like $125, now it's $200, and you know, I don't feel like I should pay for every time if he can't get it, but if he gets it the first time like this gentleman did, and I think he's gonna stay for a long time, it's a benefit for the county kind of thing, so.
How many are you looking at?
I would say no more than 4 or 5 a year at the very most, hopefully. I think a few years ago, we had like 4 employees retire all in the same year, but most of the time, you know, I have a good idea of who's gonna be retiring and everything, so.
Is it kind of a prerequisite that they get a CDL for your particular department?
Yeah, I basically give them 45 days to get it. That's when the insurance kicks in, so. I'll think it's more about it. Maybe talk to Judge, and see
Yeah.
what he thinks, so. Just want to bring that up.
Right back, yeah.
Yeah.
Something we'd probably be supportive of.
Yeah.
By workers nowadays.
Yeah. I was gonna say $200 just to get, it's pretty good odds, you know, I mean, to get somebody to get it, so. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I have nothing currently scheduled under old business. Do you gentlemen have anything that we need placed in there?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move to new business, and the number 1 on the agenda, Greg Lane with Insurance Management Group, proposal of liability renewal. He has asked to postpone and come on the 6th of February, so we will reschedule that. We have Jocelyn Whitaker, Minority Health TPC Coordinator, and she is here to share with us this morning. Ms. Jocelyn, I'm going to give you the podium there.
Okay. I have a favor. So that everybody can see the slides and so on. Is it possible for everybody to move over to that side? You're not going to take the seats up front, but I want you to see the slides because it is very important what we're about to talk about. So could everybody move over so you could see the slides? And then give you a chance to stretch your legs.
Over here to the west side of the room, and Mr. Wright has a project in which he's working with IT to get us other monitors for the rest.
Marcus, can you swing that around just a little bit? That side.
Or do you, need me to point this way?
Yes. Swing it around there a little bit for them. Cause a brief aggravation for you.
Just trying not to kind of harm on my cables.
Yeah.
For those people who do not know me, I'm Jocelyn Whitaker, and I am the consultant, educator, and coordinator for the Minority Health Coalition. And you may know me from my other life when I was an educator here in the community for roughly 35 years. The people who are here today that support our initiative for a tobacco-free group. And when I say tobacco-free group, those are people who are not smoking or vaping and so on. And we have a representative from Marion General. We have the Minority Health coordinator, Reverend Tanya Smith. We have Tracy Williams, who is here from the State Department of Health. And we also have our regional director, Shirley Du Bois, who is back there. And I've given you who I am and so on. A community conversation is where we simply talk about what's happening. And we're going to be talking about what's happening in Grant County with tobacco products, and so on. And the reason I requested that you move over is you do not have a green folder as a whole. But then we were told to prepare for a certain number, and those people have it. At the end, if anybody would like to talk with me about getting a folder, we will be glad to share it. I am going to move on to our next slide. And that next slide, and I'll just move to the back of the commissioners by the flag. The next slide says, do you know what this storefront is called? All of you have seen this storefront, and you've seen other storefronts about it. Those storefronts are points of sale, a POS. A point of sale is a grocery store, a hookah bar, a cigar bar, or a grocery store that sells tobacco products, or a liquor store that sells it. A community conversation is going to talk about what is a point of sale, and we've already discussed what that is. Why does it matter about a point of sale? It matters because those who are smokers and those who are not smokers are receiving smoke, whether it's secondhand or third hand. And I'm going to talk about that briefly and why you need to know. Our environment is changing, and we know there's climate change and so on. What are the chemicals from vaping that are being put in the air? Better still, what are the chemicals that our students, our children, as young as age 6 in Grant County are getting a hold of? When a first grader tells his mother he needs $10, and the mother questions him about this, and he says, I want one of those slim sticks. He's talking about a Juul. That happened in Grant County. What you have next is the state of tobacco control in Grant County, for those people who have that. In that state of tobacco control, what it talks about is what are people receiving and how are they receiving that information, and what do we need to know about our people? And I'll hold it up so that you can see what it looks like. It's important to know what it is. It talks about pregnant females. How many females receive information about pregnancy, and during their time they are smoking? While they are ingesting that smoke, that vapor, their baby is also ingesting it. It talks about the percentage of adults who smoke in Grant County. Our percentage is 24.8, so that's 25%. That's high. It also talks about lung and cancer deaths. We have 63.4% in Grant County. The next thing it talks about is deaths due to cardiovascular disease, heart trouble, as we know it. That's 264.4. And this information was gleaned in September, updated in September of 22. So from September of 21 to September of 22, this information came about. Moving right on down, how many visits to the emergency room based on asthma have we had in our group? We've had 51 visits, 51.9. So 9 times out of 10, we did not break it into adults, but think about how many children suffer from asthma. All of this information is found there, and I'd be glad to share it with you. The next piece of paper you have is the one that was done in 2019. The 2019 talks about the difference. And when you look at the difference of what happens from a 2 years point of view, our numbers on certain things have gone down, and you will see that, but our numbers with our youth have gone up through vaping and so on. Even though where tobacco products are sold, we are told that you must be 21 years of age to get it. But if a child has access to a debit card, his parents' debit card or his own, a parent never knows, nor does Amazon or wherever he's getting it, let them know that, or do they tell them that they are a child ordering. This is what's happening in our community. This is not happening in another county, Marion County or Allen or Lake County. This is happening in Grant County. On the back of that, it tells you about the density of the tobacco shops. The density, anytime you go to get gas at a convenience store, what are they selling? Tobacco products. They say you must be 21 years of age. How many people are actually carded? And we know there are certain groups or certain places that our teenagers in this county are going and buying tobacco products. So we have a problem right there. And when you look at the e-cigarette compound, it talks about toxic. What are the things that are in the vape? And how can that vape be reused to put marijuana and soak it with marijuana and so on? What are the other toxic chemicals that are being used that people are ingesting? And we who are non-smokers are ingesting. See, that's why this is a community conversation. It affects everybody. I'm going to talk about the bars and private clubs just very, very marginally. And the reason I'm going to do it is this. If you are a state employee or a federal employee, you go into a building that is smoke-free. If you go into a bar, you have a right. Those bar owners right now have a right to have a non-smoking area. The recourse or the choice that we who are non-smokers is not to visit those bars. As simple as that. I'm not knocking it because I have 3 friends who are bar owners. And I have other friends who smoke. I was married to a smoker. The problem with all of that is we are ingesting secondhand smoke. As simple as that. And if when I was pregnant with my son, he also ingested that. That's third-hand smoke. That's the reality of what is going on in our community. And that's why I'm not bashing anybody. I'm not saying they don't have a right to do it, because everybody has choices. That's the wonderful thing about living in America. We do have choices. But if you look at those state of control, the tobacco control information, you'll see what is happening. And, I'm not here to, as I said, I've said bashing 3 times. That's not the issue. The issue is I want to make you aware of what's happening. And you make informed decisions about what's happening. Now, moving right along. For those people who have the state of tobacco control data analysis, when you look at it, and I'm just going to read some stats very quickly. I left it blank so that you could see. The percentage of smokers I've given to you. We have gone down since 2019. 2019, we were 31%. But in 2022, we're 25%. We went down 5%. Does that matter? Yes, it does. It helps. And think about the people who are closest to the smoker, those who have stopped. What is their longevity? And what is the likelihood of their children smoking? We emulate what we see our parents do. As simple as that. And whether it's good, bad, and indifferent, you're not going to choose who your parents are. All we can do is educate people. Lung diseases itself, we were at 61.2% in deaths. We went up to 63.4 people who died. And if you haven't seen someone with lung cancer and suffer with any type of pulmonary infections or so on, and if you did not see someone close to you with COVID, I'm not going to say you missed a real treat, because that's not a treat. Those people suffered. It is very hard on us. Cardiovascular death, we stayed the same. We didn't change. But here's where we did stay the same. Those asthma-related emergency room visits, just think, they did not change at 51%, but how much did they cost us in medical care? See, all that burden on taxpayers and insurance. Why is our insurance a certain amount? Pregnant women who smoke, 30.4. We went up. We are at 32.7. So that's 33%. Deaths attributed to smoking. We were at 2 years ago, well, in 2019, we were at 109. Recorded, we went up 125. That's why I say this is a community conversation. This is a level of awareness. This is not trying to say, you don't need to do this. Adults know what they need to do and what they don't need to do. But children, we are here. My father used to say this all the time. I'm here to provide guidance for you. If that guidance is for us as adults, as parents, as caregivers, how can we smoke in front of them? It's simple as that. Now, moving on to your next item in the packet. I want you to pick up the secrets, struggles for students. This is a wonderful expose that the hospital and Amy Grant, when Amy was still with the hospital, put together. And the survey was done in the last week of April and the first week of May. And these are some of the questions. How are you really? It has to do with mental health and the barriers and what causes a student to do certain things. Do we really know how our children are? No, we don't. Because are we talking to them? Where do you place your phone at night when you sleep? The kids answer these questions. Do you believe social media affects your mental health? Have you experimented with vaping? How likely are you to experiment with vaping? And then have you ever witnessed an illegal activity or event in the hallways of your school? That illegal activity, we automatically think somebody's selling marijuana. No, vaping. Our students are vaping in the hall. And would you know the smell of a vape? Because they're in flavors. That's why this community conversation is so important. What we're trying to do now is build a healthier Grant County. And a healthier Grant County is what we're doing today. It looks like this. It talks about our successes in Grant County. It gives a picture of what's happening at the top with the brain, the items that are there. And I did not bring any Mr. Falls or Jules and so on. I think all of us have seen them. I used to have an attorney say, Jocelyn, she said, we can't allow that to go out because of the chemical that is in those products. Think about it. We have gotten them through confiscation of what the schools are picking up. And there's not a school in Grant County that has not had these devices. We used to think cigarettes. And see, at first vaping was told, or we were sold a bill of goods by Big Tobacco that vaping was better than a cigarette. One vape, one Juul is 2 packages of cigarettes. So just think how much you're ingesting in your system at that time. Then the last thing is people talking. We have to start talking to each other and our children about what happens. They could ingest one vape, their first attempt, and their lungs could collapse. As simple as that. And we've had that happen. And some of you may have heard the story of a community member whose son almost died. And it took 2 years to get him back up. And we don't know how much damage has been done. Just like a concussion out on a football field. You really don't know how bad a concussion was and what loss happens until you're able to do an autopsy. We can say a certain percentage is lost, but we really don't know. The thing we have to do is do the following. We have to prevent our youth and young adults from using tobacco. That means we as adults have to talk to each other and our children and our neighbors and so on. And don't make it a punishing just situation. Hey, what are you doing? How much time are we spending with each other? You know, move the phone away from the dinner table. Spend time. Our kids are suffering from mental illness, and vaping is a way to escape, whether we like it or not. And, you know, the things that we did as teenagers, they're doing plus some. So we have to find other ways. There is helping Hoosiers to quit. That's the quit line, and that's involved in your packet of information. Protecting Hoosiers from secondhand smoke. If someone in your household is a smoker, you might want them to step outside and smoke outside. Because once smoke gets in your clothes, your skin, it's there, and it just permeates everything. The next thing is minority health, prevention, cessation, and coalition building. Right now, we have one coalition because the hospital has not hired, and luckily enough, we are working together. If you are interested, and I invite everybody in this room, we meet once a month. We do activities and so on in the community. If you would like to be that member, we are meeting virtually. We're not meeting in person. I would be glad to have you. And the last thing is engaging the community. The only way we stop the trend is we engage the community. As simple as that. Right now, in Indiana, 8,900 people started with the quit line. In Grant County, 194 last year. It is important that we look at this and do something about it. There is a sheet that looks like this talking about the quit line. I am not a trained cessation person. That's usually a hospital nurse or so on. I can talk with you, I can counsel you, I can educate you, but I cannot go that next step. And part of that is done on computer. Again, a psychological issue that is dealt with through mental health. It's a part. Everything we do underlies or laps with what we have. Now, you had some cards in your packet. Those cards were one that was clipped, the quit line information, how it can be gotten, our local minority health, and it talks about the things we talked about, and everything on this green card affects us. Talking about preventing the use of tobacco products, talk about the quit line and so on. And if we want to see change, we have to be willing to be a part of the change we want to see. And the last thing is my business card and how you can reach me. We've done a lot in a few minutes. If you have any questions, or if you have an organization you would like me to present to, I'll be glad to. This is the first step in trying to change our lives in a positive way. And that's what this is about. This is not about getting mad with somebody because they smoke cigarette. I don't know what has triggered that for you, what barriers you are fighting. And I can't say, because I had a father who smoked, but he smoked Prince Albert. Those of us who are old enough to know, and rolled his own cigarettes. And when I went away to college, a friend of mine saw him roll. She said, "What has your dad been doing?" And I laughed. I said, "Rolling Prince Albert and stuffing a pipe." She said, "Do you see how he rolled?" I said, "I'll repeat." And she laughed. She said, "What are you telling me?" I said, "He is not smoking marijuana, a marijuana, or that rope, as he used to call it." But times have changed. He was 79 when he died. He's a severe diabetic, and that was his way of smoking his pipe at night or rolling a cigarette in the morning, one cigarette a day and one pipe to get through. there are other ways we can help people to get through. And that's what we want to do. Thank you. Questions?
Gentlemen, you have questions that you'd like to ask? Statements?
Great presentation. It's very informative. I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
I appreciate, Rosalind, or I appreciate Jocelyn's, demeanor and the way that she's kind of, instead of trying to eat the whole smoking question elephant in one bite, she's asking us to move toward our young people first. And I think that there's dialogue that can happen on some of the other things that she's mentioned today. But I like the direction that we take care of our children and we keep moving in the direction that makes us a better, healthier county. And I appreciate that attitude.
Thank you.
Presented it to us.
And thank you all for listening. You didn't have to listen. I'm a non-smoker and I had a sister who smoked for 37 years, high stress job, UPS and security. When she retired, it took 8 people to do her one job and they still call her every year. So, you know, I don't know what demons cause people to smoke. All of us have demons. Luckily enough, I did not decide to allow that demon to be a part of my life. And I am very thankful that my son doesn't smoke. So that's an issue in itself. So thank you very much.
I think, will we see anything else from Minority Health Coalition in the future? Are you going to be directing this to the health department, their board, and asking them to start working on something toward this? Because we won't see that technically until after they have some type of a thought or resolution or something they would like us to start working on. Okay. So
Dr. Moore works with the Minority Health Coalition just as he works with the hospital. I am working with the hospital and Dr. Moore. And our goal is to have community conversations, to get the information out in a non-threatening way. And I plan to meet with my friends, the 3 tavern owners, to talk about this and do this presentation. Because I had one who called me and he said, I hear you're gonna bash me. I said, I'm not gonna bash you. I said, no, that's not me. I said, now we'll bash over some other things, but that's not it. I said, I want to educate people. My goal is to engage people. That's building connections and relationships. That's what we did this morning and so on. And I hope each person will tell 3 other people about what they heard today. And I can come and speak at your church, wherever. Then our next thing is the engagement, me being before you, talking about this information and passing it out and what is available in our community. And the last thing is to empower. That empowerment is this. I don't think Ed will mind. We were supposed to go on the radio to talk about this. Ed Breen smoked for 47 years. And you know what caused Ed to stop smoking? He's a radio personality. He said he wanted to live to see his granddaughter graduate from high school, and she has graduated from college. See, that's the incentive. It has to be a personal thing. For somebody to give up an addiction, it's always going to have to be personal. I can tell you about something for 100 years. I can scream at you like I did my sister for 20 years. And then she stopped. She went to vaping, and from vaping to quitting. But she had tubular pregnancy and no other children. She could not, after that, she had also had breast cancer. And she is checked every 3 months, not every 6 months. So at her height, she was smoking 4 packages a day. I don't want a job that I'm stressed out like that. No. See, those are the things we have to look at.
we greatly appreciate your presentation today.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from Minority Health Coalition in the future, as well as our health department as you're working with them.
Yes, we are. Dr. Moore has been an advocate of what we are doing together and so on. So that has been good. Our state health department, as I said, Shirley Du Bois and Tracy Williams. Our supporters are here. Marion General is here. So, that is a partnership working together because this is our community. Good, bad, or indifferent. How do we want it to be? So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on. I don't know if Bob's in the room. Mr. Jackson's on the loose.
He withdrew. He said he's going to schedule a regular session.
Okay.
Right, next up and after EMA is Angie, our auditor, Auditor Jarvis. You have a presentation of the 100R report.
I've given that to you.
And this is a public document, if I'm correct, telling the salaries of all Grant County employees. And we have to acknowledge that and have that posted
Yes.
annually. So we have that before us.
Is this what goes in the paper?
It was advertised, yes.
It wasn't.
Do we receive this or do we adopt this? I'm not sure.
You just receive it.
Okay. So we would need a motion to receive the 100R report as presented.
I'll make a motion to receive the 100R report.
I'll second that.
I have a motion to receive, and Mr. Stewart made that as well as Mr. Wright seconding. Do we need to sign anything?
Yeah, there is a signature page on there.
All right, I'm not seeing it right at the top, so
Did I not?
we may have to sign that afterward, but we do have the motion. Oh, I found it. We have a motion with support. Any other discussion on this, gentlemen? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. It is carried. But once upon a time, we used to sign something and post it on the court, at the courthouse. Is this the same document?
Yes, it has to be posted, 2 or 3 other places. I think I put a Post-it note on there after it's signed.
Send the whole packet your way.
Do you post that or do you want me to? I think I did in the
You
past, right?
All right, we have that signed, received. Next on our agenda, we have health officer appointment. And we did have a recommendation that we did not act upon last session from the health department to reappoint Dr. Moore, and we wanted to have discussion. Do you have any recommendations, gentlemen, at this particular point?
Yeah, Commissioner, given some information that's come to light, I'm going to make a motion that we veto the recommendation from the health board and send it back and ask for a different recommendation.
Right, we have a motion to veto this particular request, this appointment. Is there support for that?
Yes. Support.
Okay, we have a motion with support. Do you wish to do any discussing at this time? Basically, what we're doing is with a veto, we are sending it back to the health board for deliberation. If they have the opportunity to send back the same name or present us a different name. So that is the intention at this time. Is that correct?
That's correct. So,
All right. Any other discussion?
yes, sir.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is carried. So we will be sending Dr. Moore's name back to the health board. And I believe they have a meeting next week that they can begin that discussion. All right. Under cell phone stipend request.
This is a cell phone stipend request from Commissioner Stewart.
Oh, I don't know about that.
At the level 2, the $55 a month. The form, if approved.
After 2 weeks of endless texts and emails, I think you need that.
Yes.
This is a normal request for the elected officials, department heads, those that are dealing with constant information, and I would be happy to second it if you want to make that.
I'll make that motion.
I will second that motion to grant the cellular funding allowance as presented for Mr. Stewart. Any discussion? We're not gonna let him vote, so. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and those abstaining.
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. What else do we have, Justin?
There is a request from Grant County Visitors Bureau. There's 2 appointments that expired on 12/31/22. The request is to reappoint Mark Sullivan. And there is another appointment replacing Patricia Edwards. The nomination is for Pat Mitchell. I believe we know him from the Hog Days.
Yes,
So 2 appointments there.
Chair, ready for a motion.
anytime, yes, sir.
I would move that we accept the CBB's nominations and approve the people that they have given. That would be reappointing Mark Sullivan as well as bringing on Pat Mitchell to the commission.
And I second that motion.
We have a motion with support, Mr. Wright, Mr. Stewart, in that order. And any other discussion on those 2 names? Right, all those in favor would say aye.
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 Aye, and it is carried. We go file the appropriate paperwork. I think you have one other item, don't you, Justin?
I do. There is, I'd like to present an amended resolution identifying tax sale certificates to be pulled from the tax sales public. There is a correction to the parcels. This was done, about a month ago, month and a half ago, and the parcel numbers were incorrect. So our attorney redrafted it and recommended receiving a new resolution number.
This was to pull that property. And if I recall correctly, looking at my calendar here real quick, I believe that usually around the 1st of April, we do that sale. So it's somewhere in that first week or so of April. But if we take care of this, then we see if there are other municipalities that have any interest in any of those properties prior to that sale. So if we take care of our side of things, then we can ask the municipalities if they have any concerns on properties.
So I would ask for resolution number 2. Mr. President, I would move that we pass resolution number 2, 2023.
I second that motion.
We do have a motion with support for resolution number 2 of 2023. That is cleaning up the numbers on the parcels as presented. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, it is carried. Right. Do you have other new business, gentlemen, that we need to care for?
I do not.
I do know.
We will be moving to a Board of Finance meeting following the regular commissioners meeting. And before we recess, we do have the opportunity for public comment. We had mentioned that the commissioners are working on a statement, and it's still a project in the process here. But at this time, public is invited to speak before the board. Please approach the podium when recognized, present your name, your address, and state your comments, concerns. Should be addressed to the board and be limited to items on the agenda. No complaints, accusations, or name calling regarding personnel can be allowed during the public discussion. A time limit of 3 minutes will be given. If more than one person is requested for a group, only one person will be heard. It is expected that the professionalism and courtesy is displayed at all times during the public comments portion of this meeting. That is, like we said, that's a work in progress. We're still defining that, but that is the gist of where we go with our public comments. If you would like to address the Board of Commissioners, we invite you to the podium to present any information at this time. All right. Hearing none, we will declare the Board of Commissioners in recess and the Board of Finance will begin in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Security.
I don't know. I thought Peggy was going to be here to take care of this.